Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Trackside Broadcasting. I hope everyone has had a great week so far, and now it's time to finish it off with some great racing action here tonight. As always, before we get underway, I'd like to thank the Tanzo Racing Group for letting us bring you all the action this season, and thank you to our sponsors, Valhalla Liveries and us here at Trackside Broadcasting. Also, make sure you share the YouTube link to your friends and family so more people can support your favourite drivers. So we are now on race 6 of 8 tonight. So we're nearing the end of the season, and we're here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, also known as MoSport for short, in Ontario, Canada. It's been an awesome season so far, so much close racing, and after a week's break, hopefully everyone's nice and refreshed for the last few races of the season. But before we begin, joining me in the booth, as always, will be my co-host and right-hand man in broadcasting, a man who brings the energy and a great sense of humour with him too. Let's get him in here and say our hellos. Good evening, Gaz. How are we doing today?
Oh, good evening, Jimmy. I am doing very, very well, as I'm sure you're aware. It's a bank holiday weekend. The weather is absolutely fantastic, and I don't have to go back to work until the 1st. So I am doing brilliantly, mate. And we're back to racing. I've been looking forward to this since our little break mid-season last week. We didn't have anything to do last weekend. I was pretty bored, my mate. But no, we're back. Canadian Tire, MoSport. We're back in Canada, a place that I know me and you love racing around on other tracks as well. But mate, I'm really looking forward to it. How you feeling about it tonight?
Well, MoSport is one of my favourite tracks out there. I mean, it's not my usual kind of style of track. I like a sort of a very technical, sharp corners, lots of like a nice fiddly track, but it's all sweeping corners, very fast and flowing, and has this really crazy section right in the middle of it where it's really technical and it's just madness. But we'll get into that as we start the race. But yeah, one of my favourites, so I'm really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, 2.55 miles a lap, Jimmy. 10 corners on this circuit for us. It's going to be a good one, and I do know how much you really like this track. It makes I've said it a few times in the past, but this one really does make for a really good racing track, doesn't it? So much room out there; they can probably get side by side with each other. It's a very, very fast track as well, Jimmy. So we
Yeah,
should get some great racing tonight.
yeah, I think the width of it as well, like you said, it's such a wide track that there's like a couple corners where well, a couple little moments where it's slightly too tight, and but the rest of it, I mean, you can just see here, it's so wide that you can go like five aside for most of the track in the GRs. So no, it's
Well,
good fun.
Well, I'll tell you, we see some five cars wide driving, Jimmy. I think we're going to be on for a very, very interesting race tonight. Be a bit crazy to see, I think, mate, though. But no, it's a really good one. I'm really looking forward to getting things back underway. And just before we move any further, Jimmy, hello, YouTube. Marshmallow, I see you in there. Finally, race day. Let's go. And I couldn't put it any better myself, Jimmy.
Absolutely. But before we get underway and talking about the qualifying, would you like to let everyone know the rules and regs for this season?
Yeah, no worries, Jimmy. We've had a little bit of a break. So just to remind everybody, just in case you've forgotten, and for anybody who is joining us tonight, it's an 8-week series. We are on race 6 of 8 here tonight at MoSport. Each weekend will open with a 30-minute practice. Everyone out on track together. Just getting a little bit of a feel for how it goes, or not on track if you can see the stream right now. There we go. The shoe's gone quite wide there. But no, then that follows by a 15-minute lone qualifying session, Jimmy. So they'll be on their own and they've got a maximum of 3 laps to set a time there. Don't have to worry about any of the other drivers around. Set the best lap possible. And after qualifying, we all know what comes next, Jimmy. Everybody lines up and it's a standing start, 5 lights, and away we go. But we're on our 2 race schedule this evening, Jimmy. So the first race, a 20-minute race, followed by a short 5-minute break for the drivers. Then we're back for a full reverse grid for the 25-minute second race here tonight. It's should make for an interesting one. And just remember, guys, as well, these guys do have one fast repair for any damage they do get out on track as well. So if they do get too much out there, they can quickly nip themselves back into the pits, get that sorted. Doesn't have any impact on tyres or fuel or anything like that, but it gets you back out there and gets you back out racing. But Jimmy, with all of that, the boring bits, as I like to say, out of the way, shall we take a hop down to trackside and find out what's going on tonight?
Yeah, let's take a look at the timings that we've got so far. So Lee Martin is currently leading the way in qualifying with a 1 minute 30.1, followed by Robert Barber with a 1:30.4. Then we got Paul Brown just behind him, Andrea Magli a little bit, about half a second off of him, Phil Giles a 3/10 behind again, and then Joseph Lopez is about a tenth behind that. So fairly close at the back, fairly close at the front. Hopefully the back three can find that tiny little bit more pace and get up in the running with the top three there as well.
Hey Jimmy, it's one of the downsides of a bank holiday weekend, especially in the UK, where I know most of these drivers are from. When we get weather like this, as I'm sure you'll notice, haven't got many cars out on track with us tonight. We've only got 6 out there at the moment. I think there's a couple more sitting in the pits, just waiting to see if they're going to come out at all or not this evening, mate. But it's the one downside of a beautiful bank holiday weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean when it's 30 degrees
Yeah.
and the sun's out, I mean I've already seen people getting their barbecues out. You got like yeah, it's it's a difficult one. Do you stay inside and do you do a bit of sim racing or do you just enjoy the fleeting bit of sun that we get a couple times a year here in the UK?
No, absolutely, absolutely. But the one good thing for these drivers, with there not being so many out, Jimmy, there's going to be lots of points up for grabs here. So if any of your competition directly in front of you, or maybe catching up behind you, is out tonight, you're going to get yourself some nice points on the board. Get yourself away from them a little bit.
Yeah, we got one more out on track at the moment. Casper Roost has joined the group. So yeah,
Ah,
just one more
good old
sat in
Casper.
pits. Whether they join or not is up to them. But yeah, I mean 7. I think it's a good number. Good number. I think we should get some quality racing still. And what's great about a track like this, because it is so wide and so flowing, especially in the kind of slower cars like we got with the Toyota here, it's you get a lot of draft like we had in like Monza earlier on in the season where you can kind of follow a bit more easy. You get kind of pulled along by the slipstream of the car in front, and then you can kind of keep as a group a bit more.
Yeah, I think it's something that we're going to be seeing, especially with the few amount of drivers that are out here, Jim. I think we will see these guys grouped together just a little bit. You obviously got the 3 pros at the minute, the 4 AMs. So there'll definitely be a race in there, and they with being so few, Jimmy. Yeah, like I said, they'll probably be sticking together quite a lot. But we're just coming up to 10 minutes. We've got just over 5 minutes left to go. Joseph Lopez out on track at the moment, the only one. I think we've still got one sitting in the pits at the moment, not come out to set a time, but he's still got 5 minutes left at the moment, Jim. But no, it should make for an interesting one, and it definitely makes for an interesting one when we get to that second race as well. Whether we've got 7, 8 drivers or we've got 18, 19, 20 drivers. A reverse grid definitely throws some chaos into the mix, doesn't it?
It does. I think on a track like this one though, I think it's going to be hardest for like in previous races we've had it where because it's a lot more of a tighter track. When you're that leader in the second lap, when you finish last in the first race, now you're starting first in the second one, you can kind of keep first place a little bit easier because it's bit more of a struggle to overtake. But in a track like this, I think it's a little too easy to overtake. You can't really defend because of how wide it is. I mean, you can see it here. You can like you go on the inside line, and then there's so much room on the outside, and vice versa. And I don't know. It's going to be tough to keep that P1 position.
No, it really is. It really is. And Marshmallow in the comments raises a good point there, Jimmy. The remaining drivers are going to struggle in this heat, and we know how hot it can get for them.
Yeah, I mean, that is one of the joys of doing something like sim racing is it gets hot when you got those huge like racing rigs in your house and yeah, if you haven't got air conditioning, you're a bit stuffed. And it's one of my favorite purchases that I ever did for my at home rig was getting a wind sim on there, getting some fans blowing on you as you're driving along, and
Well,
keeps you a bit cooler, but
Well,
in
that's all
weather
well and
like
good,
this.
Jimmy. That is all well and good, but when I'm racing along with you and all I can hear is fans bellowing through the microphone, it doesn't really make for good communication between the two of us there, Jim. But if it keeps you cool while racing and these guys aren't talking to anyone else, I'm sure it'll be absolutely fine if they've got something like that.
I
But no,
think
you're
Cool
definitely
James
going to
is a
need it.
happy James. I mean,
Cool James is a happy James. There you go. I like that one, Jimmy. I like that one quite a lot. But no, just looking at the temperatures, Jimmy, where I'm in the country at the moment, we're still sitting at 26, nearly 27 degrees at the moment. And it's what, 20 to 8 in the evening. It is absolutely roasting. I do feel for these guys.
Yeah, I mean the temperature in my room is 26 degrees at the moment, and yeah, I'm glad I haven't got the rig running like some of these guys have. I imagine a lot of the people here have those portable AC units. It's probably going to keep you a bit cooler.
Well, you'd hope so, because otherwise we're going to have some very melty drivers. If we see any cars veering off track as well, we know that the heat's got to them just a little bit. So let's hope we don't see anything like that tonight. But no,
Yeah.
Jimmy, few minutes left. Lee Martin still leading the way. There really isn't that much in it though. 4 tenths in it between him, Rob Barber, who's sitting in P2, P1 in class at the moment as well. There's really not a lot. A second for Paul Brown just off of them in P3 as well. There's really not a lot of time in there at the moment.
No, I mean half a second between, or nearly half a second between the front two, yeah. But then Robert and Paul very close together. Andrea is kind of also in that kind of close mix, and then that bottom three again, they are kind of all very close together. So I think we're going to see kind of two different groups forming here. I mean, I personally believe that as we're looking at the car of Lee Martin here, this section of corners that he's coming up to right now, I think this is where I think that bottom three are losing the time. It's that one really technical part of the track. It doesn't look too bad. It just looks like two 90-degree right-handers, but it's so crazy that like it's because you're sort of we'll get into a bit more, but you're kind of braking downhill and then braking uphill, and it unsettles the car, and then there's a lot of camber, and it's just yeah, it's awkward, and yeah, I think
No,
that's probably what's going to separate them a little bit. But I mean, you can kind of I don't know. My thought is if you're following a driver that knows how to do it, you'll pick it up as the race goes on, and then you'll start figuring it out, and you'll start getting a bit quicker. We've got a few
no.
comments in the YouTube as well. I'm just going to get to those before we end qualify. So Union Jack here. I'm watching but not racing. Too hot for me. Oh, that must be Jack Beasy in the YouTube chat. I don't have an
Good
AC
evening,
unit.
Jack.
29 degrees in here. Oh,
With all the
yeah.
windows and doors open and fan blasting. Yeah, Jack, don't blame you at all there, mate. It's one of them. You really don't want to be sweating yourself silly, putting yourself in any compromising positions when it gets that hot, really. But no, definitely shame to be missing you there, mate. But no, Jimmy, that seems to be it. We're coming up to the end of qualifying now. There's only I think Andrea just out there at the moment, but 20 seconds left to go. I'm pretty confident. We've seen all the times that we're going to get into. We'll confirm all that one for you in just a moment's time. But no, guys, thanks again for joining us here on Trackside Broadcasting, racing with the Tanzo Racing Group this evening in these Toyota GR86s here in Canada, Mosport or Canadian Tire as it's now called. It should make for a very, very interesting one. But that is the 15 minutes up now, Jimmy. So we'll pull up the times in just a second and confirm for everybody where everybody's going to start this first race this evening. Remember, the first race being 20 minutes, second race after a 5 minute break. We're going to reverse grid it in 25 minutes and see what happens there as well. Should make for an interesting one though this evening, Jimmy. So, but with that said and done, do you want to let everybody know how we are going to be lining up this evening?
Yep, so starting in P1, we have Lee Martin, followed by Robert Barber, who will be P1 in the AMS, but P2 on track. Then we have Paul Brown, Andrea Magley, Phil Giles, Joseph Lopez, Casper Roost, and then John Johnston has not set a time. So he might be starting from the back. He might not be racing at all. We'll have to see how that goes.
Well, he was definitely out in practice. I know that, Jimmy, 'cause I saw him out there, and we'll have to see if he's given himself a last to first, a bit of a Jack Veazey challenge this week, seeing if he can seeing if he can go from all the way from the back to the front of the pack. But no, we'll see how it all lines up though. But the seven with the time, like you just saw a moment ago, there you go. Lee Martin leading the way for the pros, and Rob Barber leading the way for the AMs.
Yeah,
And we'll
so
just
we'll once the final car, we can see there's a couple gaps on that start grid. Once as soon as they join, we should be underway. Hopefully they join soon. There you go. There's Lee Martin just popping on in position. I think we're just waiting on a couple more. But no, I mean this. I reckon this will be a fun one because it is such a. Uh, I wouldn't say easy is the right word, but I think it's easy to keep with a group, if you get what I mean. And I think that's what always makes good racing when you kind of you're pulled along into the draft and then you can all race together. But then, yeah, we'll call it when the lights go out. I believe we've got a standing start this evening. And
I think we're
then,
still waiting for one out on track at the moment, Jimmy. I think it is.
oh, there
Oh,
you go.
there he is. Just popped on, I
One
think.
second to spare. I was cutting it close. All right, so the lights are about to go out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights, and away we go. Lee Martin, great start from him there. Slightly slower from Robert Barber. Paul Brown also getting a great start. With Andrea Magali also making it 3 wide into turn 1. Can he get the move done on the outside? He's going so wide around the outside. I don't know if he can carry that speed, but Robert Barber definitely making one good position there and getting onto the back of Lee Martin right off the start. Andrea Magali looks like he's got the position done as well. Then you got Joseph Lopez and Casper Roos going side by side with John Johnson just following up the rear as they go through these first few corners of the race. Joseph Lopez really looking to make a move this early on and start working his way up the field. Got a little bit of a train going. I think they'll want to stay single file through this next section of corner because this is where it does get tight and then it spreads back out into a nice wide track afterwards and then they can start battling once again. So the nice little technical bit, everyone keeping it calm, collected and keeping it out alive as they get back under racing.
There you go. So 8 cars out on track there, Jimmy. Lee Martin leading the way at the minute, followed by Paul Brown and Andrea Maglai in P3. The pros have taken the top spots at the moment. Rob Barber down to P4, but still P1 in the AMS, followed by Phil Giles, Casper Roos, Joseph Lopez, and John Johnson leading out the back of the pack at the moment in P8. They are keeping it quite tight though, Jimmy, but there's nothing really too treacherous going on at the minute. I say that as they just about to go 2 wide, Paul Brown and Andrea Magley, with Rob Barber just getting his nose into the mix as well there, Jim. But no, pretty good start from everybody there.
Yeah, Paul Brown is getting very fighty off the start here. 3 wide again going through turn 1 from the same 3 drivers. Paul Brown is out on the outside this time with Andrea in the middle, and then we had Robert Barber off to the inside, who has dropped
Hey,
back a little bit, but he has got the pace to catch back up. He just got overtaken by Phil Giles, and now he's right on the bumper of him. Andrea Magley looking to make a move, going bumper to bumper. You can see him diving down the inside. Can he
oh,
get the move done? Not quite. I think he had to back out a little bit. And it'll be interesting to see how they tackle this next few corners, because it looks like both of them want to be in that P2 position, but that fighting has given, in a matter of a couple corners, Lee Martin a 1.5 seconds a lead. So yeah, they might have to work together somewhat to catch back up. Otherwise, they are just fighting for P2 at this point now, and
no,
they know
absolutely,
that the
Jimmy.
drivers behind them have got the pace to fight them as well. They are staying as a group, so we'll have to see how it goes.
No, absolutely, Jimmy. You can just see Rob Barber there dropping down to P6 out on track at the moment, P3 in the AMS. Not too sure what's really gone on there, but no, we're a couple of laps in, like you said, 1.2, 1.3 second gap. That's now given Lee Martin at the top of the leaderboard. Paul Brown with Andrea in P3 just fighting it out behind them. Phil Giles was fighting out of Rob Barber. Like I said, he's dropped down to P6, letting Casper Roos into the mix to fight with Phil Giles now for the top spot in the AMS. It's going absolutely everywhere. I'm not too sure what's going on down here with these AMs at the moment, but they are flipping all over the place.
Yeah, I told you it's a great race, well, a great track for racing because it is so wide and you can really battle hard. And yeah, just looking back at the YouTube chat, Ye Old Geek 71, also known as John, he yeah, another one that also absolutely loves this track. And yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's one of my favorites. It's just so good for racing, so good for battling. And we got Paul's daughter in chat. Hope he could remain near the front and on the podium. It looks like he's got the pace too. So as long as him and Andrea can keep it out of trouble, I think they'll both end up on the podium this one.
No, absolutely. Paul Brown doing brilliant at the moment, sitting up in P2. I think he got himself up from P3 or P4, I believe it was, from the start of the race there, Jim. So gained a couple of positions very early on in that first lap. P2 at the moment. Keep the good luck coming for him there. But no, it's a little bit of a fight with the AMs at the moment. Phil Giles is sitting P4 on track P1 at the moment in class, followed by Rob Barber back up to P5, P2 in class, with Casper Roos now up to P3. Behind them too, Joseph Lopez and John Johnson just sitting at the back of the pack. John Johnson just dropping off a little bit now. Now I reckon that's possibly that extra 15 minutes of during qualifying that he didn't get the practice out on track that might be affecting him there. But no, he's dropping off the back of the pack by a little bit now, 4 seconds there. But no, it's all going off in front of him. Phil Giles, Rob Barber, Casper Roos, and Joseph Lopez all swapping and chopping positions here, Jimmy. And we're only 3 laps into it.
Yeah, I mean it's been very fighty, very scrappy this early on, but yeah, it's you can see them going bumper to bumper this whole time. I saw I believe it was Casper Roost was giving. I didn't see which car it was. It was a bit out of view, but he looked like he was bump drafting someone along. So I think they clearly want to work together and work their way up a bit more. But as I predicted, we have got kind of two groups going on and fighting together. We got that front three, and then we got the back four all together fighting. And yeah, they're just not leaving each other alone. But that is the problem. The more you fight, the more you drop off the back of everyone else. So it's a tough one. So do you enjoy the race, or do you try and go for position? But I mean, all the AMs together, I don't think it really affects them whether the pros are pulling away a little bit because their score ultimately will be unaffected. As Casper goes so wide into the little technical corner section, and then yeah, loses a bit of track position there. So what happens here? Braking, yeah, you can see carrying a little bit more speed, and I don't think it was
Carrying a
quite on
lot
the
of
brakes
speed there,
just
isn't he?
yeah, just didn't
A lot of
quite get the
speed.
car rotated, and then
I think it's one of those, Jimmy. He's in such a race with Rob Barber and Phil Giles just ahead of him as well. He doesn't want to lose them. That I think it's just one of those. You go into it a little bit heavy-footed, so to say. You're in a little bit too quick, and by the time you realise, there's not really much you can do about it there.
yeah, you can see Barber there as well giving the car in front, Phil Giles, a bit of a push as well. So they are. It kind of looks like they're planning on trying to catch up to the group up ahead and to
That
get a bit more pace as Joseph Lopez looks on the inside to try and get the move done. Keeps it very tight, and oh, he's been a bit blocked by Robert Barber. Not that it was a intentional block, but Rob Barber was looking to go on the inside to make the move on Phil Giles. So they are a little bit all over the place, having to attack and defend at the same time. It's a bit of a crazy one for these guys. As we're on board now, so you can see a bit of the action from Robert Barber's point of view. It'd be great to keep on board with them just for this next little section, just so you can see how awkward but kind of roller coastery kind of fun this next few set of corner is, because this is what I really like. It goes too wide into this section here. Oh, yeah,
and
you can
still
tell by the
Giles
surprise.
there.
Oh, I think he got hit
Oh,
to
and
the
then
wall
into
as
the
well from
wall
the car
himself.
behind him. Oh,
Oh, what has happened there? We'll take a look at that from another angle in just a moment there, but you can see exactly what's going on. Jimmy, I was going to say, you've got to remember, as much as he was chasing Phil Giles there with everything he had to do out on track, he still had Joseph Lopez right behind him as well. So look at what happened. He gets himself onto the corner, comes back out onto the track. It just seems to come across and tag Phil Giles, sending Phil Giles all the way around. And we know what happened to Rob Barber because he hits that wall just coming up on the left-hand side there, the tyre wall. You can just see a little bit further up. That is very unfortunate. Jim, how has that happened?
well, I mean, you can tell by the surprise in my voice when I was going to say they're going too wide into that section, because that is the like. I'm very much under the opinion that you can overtake wherever on any track, but there are some points where just because you can doesn't mean you should. And that's one of those places where it's just like you just have to accept defeat and you just have to stick behind. And it's a great example. If you ever, I mean, IMSA comes here quite a lot, and if you ever catch one of those races, you'll see when you get like even the faster prototype cars who could make the move, they'll sit behind and they'll follow the slower cars through that section just because it's just so difficult to kind of go too
Well,
wide through there. And then, yeah, Joseph Lopez looking to make the opportunity and get a couple positions from that little mistake from those two. And
Rob Barber seems to have paid the ultimate one there, Jimmy. Picked up the meatball flag, obviously got himself a bit too much damage. He's now sitting in the pits trying to sort that one out. And he was obviously fighting up there with Phil Giles for P1 in AMS. That's all that craziness right there has now allowed Casper Russo all the way through. He's sitting P4 out on track, P1 in the AMS at the moment. Joseph Lopez and Phil Giles now down to P3. John Johnson up to P4. Just well, he's gained a little bit of time from all that incident just in front of him. He's now just over a second behind Phil Joseph and Casper in front of him. But Rob Barber, that is unfortunate. That's really one of those, isn't it, Jimmy? Just catches that curb and then does it throw him back over a bit too much, or is that something maybe a bit more on the driver? Would you say?
and I think that curve is just going to unsettle the car because obviously you're turning, you're going downhill, the weight of the car is changing. So when you start bouncing on a curb, it's going to throw you a little bit wide. And then when you kind of hit the back end of a car, it's just going to T-bone it, isn't it? So yeah,
Yeah.
doing that, it causes a little accident there. Joseph Lopez trying to make the opportunity by diving on the inside, doesn't quite have the room and sends Barber into the wall. I mean, it was just a recipe for disaster there, Jack in the YouTube chat says too wide is fine there. Robert just messed up. I
Yeah,
agree. You can go too wide, but like I said, sometimes it's best just to sit behind a little bit and just follow the cars through because the entry and the exit, I mean, you need a good exit out of that corner because it's just flat out for so long. And if you're compromising by taking an awkward line because you're too wide, all you're doing is slowing you both down, and then you just lose too much time overall. So I think,
there you
yeah, it's
go.
better to get a better exit and get the move done, in my opinion, and then
Well,
get back
all
fighting.
all I will say on that one, Jimmy, is I've been told by the marshals it is being looked at, the incident between Phil Giles and Robert Barber, so it's being investigated currently. We'll bring you any updates on the outcome of that one, if indeed it does come before the end of the race. But we're just over half of the first race gone now, Jim. Lee Martin sitting in P1 still, followed by Andrea Maglai with Paul Brown sitting in P3. That's your pros sitting in the top three, 1, 2, and 3. Casper Roos sitting in P4 out on track, P1 in the class at the moment due to all that chaos that happened just a moment ago. Joseph Lopez in P2, followed by Phil Giles, John Johnson, and Rob Barber back out on track at the moment.
Yeah, hopefully we can find out what's happening with them because I mean, if you get a penalty or whatever, you kind of want to know sooner rather than later, don't you? Just so you can kind of deal with it a little bit. But I mean, ultimately,
Yeah,
I don't think there was no malice involved there. It was just a mistake. So I
I
wouldn't
think it was
worry
just one of
too much
them.
about it at the end of the day. Yeah.
It's like you said, Jimmy. It's a great track, and I said it at the start before we got going. It's a great track for actually racing, and that's what we like to see. It's just sometimes these things happen. Look, we haven't lost anybody though. We've still got all 8 drivers out here with us. Yes, the order have changed up slightly, and we've seen a couple of cars facing the wrong way and into a couple of walls that they wouldn't want to be hitting. But we've got everybody out on track. We're seeing some good racing so far. There's definitely the divide at the minute between the pros and the AMs. Look, there's nearly 8.5 seconds between Casper in P1 on the AMs and Paul Brown in P3 in the pros at the moment. So we'll have to see what happens, Jimmy. But no,
Oh no, I mean, if you look on your screen at the moment, incident involving Phil Giles and Rob Bubba, racing incident. So, yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it's just a little
yeah,
accident that happened when his car got settled on the curb. So no further punishment for either driver there. But what that does mean is that those drivers will be basically starting from the front next race round. So in 8 minutes time, as the when the race ends, then will be a short 5 minute gap, and they'll go on to our second race of the evening. And
yeah, no, of course. And as it stands, Rob Barber's going to be starting P1 in the next race, with John Johnson sitting next to him, and Phil Giles and second line behind them, second row lining up there, P3. So it'd be interesting to see how those guys deal with the second race, especially if they start so close up to the top. But no, it should make for an interesting one, Jimmy. But no, I'm glad that one went down as a racing incident, though, because it's the point I was trying to make just before it came out there is they were just racing, they were just driving, they were doing what they really want to do and what we all like to see them do. Because at the end of the day, we don't like to see non-contact, no racing, do we, Jimmy? We like to see a little bit of paint exchange. So no, I'm glad nothing's come from either of that there. But no, it has affected obviously Rob more than Phil at the moment. But it all comes around during the second race there, doesn't it?
yeah, and I'd be interested to see how they continue to race going forward. Whether they try that move again, just to see if it's like, well, I'll try it without hitting the curb this time, and then get back to fighting a bit, or whether they decide to back out and go single file through that bit of track. But yeah, I mean, the rest of it's wide enough. You can battle wherever really. I mean, just have a bit of fun at the end of the day, isn't it?
No, absolutely, Jimmy, absolutely. One of the things though that I think's got to stick in the back of my mind though, is like we said right at the start of the broadcast, we are on race 6 of 8, Jimmy. So we're getting towards the end of the season. So points are coming into it a little bit. And Rob Barber, I know at the moment is sitting at the top of the AM leaderboard, so he's not going to want to be finishing in these low down positions at all, I think. But starting next race first, hopefully that should give him a nice little advantage into that second race, but we know how strong these drivers are behind him, Jimmy. But no, it's one of them now, and it slowly started to creep into my mind coming up to this race this week. We're getting towards that end bit. We're getting towards the season end now.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean the points are on the line. I mean you want to be going for that win at the end of the day. Um, but yeah, I do love the second race of the evening that we get where it is a reverse grid because I think that just really shows a different side to the drivers and yeah, it makes it a bit more interesting as we're on board with Andrea here. So you can see the nice wide track that we've been talking a lot about, and the nice Canadian scenery going around too. As you can see, he's in that slipstream with Paul Brown, but he has fallen off at the back a little bit. Paul Brown just showing a bit more pace as the race goes on. Lee Martin, though, is absolutely storming ahead. I think he's pretty much got this one in the bag, as long as he can keep it on track. As Casper Ruud goes for the move on Joseph Lopez, gets that slipstream down the inside, gets the outside line. Sorry, Joseph Lopez on the inside, and then Casper Ruud gets that outside line. Can he carry the extra speed around? Does he have to back out a little bit? No, he keeps it together. Still too wide. Joseph Lopez gets that inside line. Can't carry enough speed through as Casper Ruud carries a bit more speed through, and it keeps them together. So it's going to see how they do turn one. As we've seen a lot of people favouring going side by side through turn one. It doesn't seem to favour any particular driver, but just Joseph Lopez gets ahead, gets the move done, and Casper Ruud has to fight again in this next lap. Still sticking on the back of him here as they get as tight as they possibly can, having to dab the brakes because he was so close. That little slipstream is going to pull him a little bit closer than is comfortable. And yeah, I think Joseph Lopez is going to be looking in his mirrors a little bit to see where Casper Ruud is going to be, and if he's going to go on the attack, or if Joseph Lopez is going to have to go defensive. So we'll see where they go through this next set of corners here. I think Casper Ruud is going to stay behind a bit. He hasn't got enough speed or overlap just yet. So can he carry enough speed through the corner to get a good exit? Joseph Lopez going a little bit wide, gives Casper Ruud the inside. But then Joseph Lopez seems to carry a bit more speed through, even though he went wide and went onto the grass. Casper Ruud, though, still tight behind. And I think he's going to get the move done here, which is just wondering where Joseph Lopez is going to position his car. I think he favoured the inside line there, and we'll have to see where they go next way round. But
Casper
yeah,
is still sitting right on the back of Joseph Lopez, trying to get himself back onto the side of him there, Jimmy, which he does. So it's too wide again. Casper is going for it. He might just get it done here as he gets the inside onto the next corner. Is he going to slot himself in front? And yes, he does. He gets the move done on Joseph Lopez there. But are we going to see a move back from Joseph at all in the last few minutes of this race left to go?
yeah. I mean, at a minute and a half a lap, we're
Oh, Paul there
got,
goes, sorry, just a bit wide there behind Andrea. It looks like he's trying really hard there to get up and behind him. We saw him just a moment ago when we did cut just a second back there, Jim, how close he was. Seems to have just dropped off just a little bit now. I think I know why. But no, it's an interesting one. Is Paul going to be able to get the move back on Andrea to get back up into P2? He's been up there since pretty much the start. Andrea's been chasing him down. He's got himself up into P2 now. But Casper Ruud, Joseph Lopez still going at it. Joseph trying to get side next to Casper. Doesn't quite get there at the moment. Casper still holding that speed as he goes around the outside of the corner, still sitting in front. But Joseph is right in the boot of his car now.
yeah. I wonder what kind of move they're going to do going through here. Yeah, they stick single file, and then see if he can get a better exit this time as he throws the car into the corner, gets so close to that apex, carry all that speed on using every single bit of track that he can, keeps it tight, keeps the line straight,
He's
gets into that
closing on him.
slipstream. Yeah, he got a good exit there, and he's got that slipstream with him. So he's going to have to choose here, go to the outside line. Does he stay in the middle to squeeze
No,
Casper
I think he's
Ruud
going to
in
get
there?
it.
Now he's staying a bit in the middle of the track, but now he's going to the outside line so that he can get a nice run through these next few corners. And basically, we're in the reverse of where we we started watching these guys fighting. So I mean, if oh, they're doing a little bit of a switchback there. As Casper stays just ahead. Joseph Lopez going
Joseph
on the inside. Oh,
taking a lot of speed on that on the previous corner there, though, Jim. Just keeping himself right on the back of Casper Ruud in front of him now, sitting side by side at the moment. Not even a tenth between them.
yeah, and
Joseph taking the inside corner. Is he going to get in just ahead of Casper? Hasn't made it stick just yet. Casper took a lot of speed there coming around the outside of that corner. Sticks himself in P1 above Joseph. Gets himself nicely out there. Joseph's just sitting off just for now, though. But Joseph's got the inside. Is he about to make the move? And he does. He gets it done on Casper Ruud. There's some beautiful driving between these two, Jim.
yeah, I mean, Casper slowed off a lot there on that corner. I wonder if he had a bit of a mistake or missed a gear or something, because yeah, he
I
got a
don't
very
know.
slow exit out of that.
Maybe missed a gear there, but Joseph did look quick coming out of that corner, though. Jimmy took the outside line, giving that little bit of extra speed there, and I think it might have just stuck for him. But no, possibly have a look at that one if anything did happen. But I'm sure our cameraman will let us know. But Paul's still chasing down on Andrea up in P3 and P2 at the moment, Jim. What's going to happen between these two as we are into that last 30 seconds of this first race?
Well, we've got a another lap to go as Lee Martin has crossed the line with time to spare. So yeah, one more lap of the race. Paul Brown is going to have to get the move done sooner rather than later because, yeah, I think it's a tough one. I mean, we're looking at the Joseph and Casper race here, and it's so difficult to defend. I mean, either the inside line or outside line could go either way, so it's tough. Basically, Paul Brown just needs to get himself alongside Andrea for the best shout at the P2 here, as that you can see the white flag being waved in the background there, signaling that it is the last lap of the race. So yeah, I'm interested to see where people start to make the moves and if they can get them done. Paul Brown getting a bit closer now on the back of Andrea. He's going to need a really good exit out of this next corner, well, next few corners, so that he can get that good run down that last little bit before the end to get the move done. Lee Martin though, he's 6 and a bit seconds ahead of the next car. Yeah, he's got this in the bag. He could make a mistake now and probably get back running and still be fine as he comes up on the lapped car of Robert Barber there. That's how quick he's been around this track. You can see the two though fighting in the background, so they are close, but not close enough to fight for that win. As Paul Brown getting ever closer and closer. Now they're in at the 10th of each other, and can he get the move done? He's going to have to go around the outside. And yeah, we've seen Casper and Joseph fighting the same way this entire race. Let's see how these guys go. Paul Brown not quite enough alongside, I don't think, to squeeze Andrea to the inside as Lee Martin crosses the line, and that is P1 for him in this first race of the evening. And then we have
Is it Andrea coming over
Andrea
in P2?
leading. A little
Yeah.
wiggle from him, flash from Paul Brown. That was a good solid race from those two. Let's see how these guys getting on. Casper Roos not far enough alongside. This will be Joseph Lopez race this in this Joseph Lopez's win for this first race of the evening, with Casper Roos just behind him in P2. Then we've got Phil Giles, John Johnston, and then Robert Barber rounding out your top 8 on track this evening. So yeah, what a what a good race from these guys. I mean, Andre and Paul definitely close in pace, with Casper and Joseph very close in pace as well. So we'll have to see how they get on in the reverse grid, which will be happening in just about 5 minutes time once Robert Barber crosses the finish line. So yeah, stick around for that one. I always find the second race of the evening is just so much fun to watch.
Well, hopefully we're going to see a bit more fighting, Jimmy, in the second race. We usually do. We saw it with Joseph Lopez and Casper Russo. We saw it with Andrea and Paul. So I want to see that across the all 8 drivers. I do, because that would make for a hell of an interesting second race there. I just wait for Rob Barber to come round just to finish his lap off as he finals around the last corner, and there you go.
So just going to Marshmallow in the YouTube chat as Robert Barber crosses the finish line. There was a slight incident where Robert Barber got on a curb during a corner and they hit the back of another car, and both of them span and end up in the wall. It was yeah, not ideal, but
No.
I think for them at least they get to start on P1 this time round. As we the results of the end of the first race, we have Lee Martin leading the way with Andrea, followed behind him, and Paul is your top 3 in the pros. Then we got Joseph Lopez leading the way in the AMs with Casper Roos, Phil Giles, John Johnston, and Robert Barber rounding out your 8 on track.
There
So
you
yeah,
go.
they'll be starting. Sorry, just quickly, they'll be starting that next race in reverse order. So we'll have Robert Barber starting P1 with Lee Martin in last place.
Yeah, I was just going to say there, Jimmy. Rob Barber, we know how strong he is. We saw what he did during that race before his little incident with Phil Giles. We'll be starting out in P1. John Johnson will be sitting next to him. Phil Giles will be directly behind Rob Barber, though, so that should make for an interesting start to that next race. So one to definitely keep an eye on right at the start as we get going there. Casper Roos will be starting next to Phil Giles in P4, followed by Joseph Lopez, Paul Brown, Andrea Maguire, and Lee Martin at the back of the pack. So it will be interesting to see what these pros can do. See if they've got five amps sitting in front of them. We know there is officially a class difference, but Jimmy, when we see some of the driving out there that we do, not so much this week, but we can see what some of these AMs are really like. How they're not really AMs, in my opinion. We know that.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a small difference. I mean, it is kind of just pro in name rather than an AM in name rather than much else. yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you the caliber of the drivers that we get in these leagues. It's just, yeah, I think that's what's good about a league is you get people that really want to race and they want to have a race, and yeah, I think you're always going to get a high caliber of driver that way. So yeah, we're just on the warm up at the moment with 3 minutes to go. A couple cars out on track, just getting that extra time in, getting used to the car again on those colder tires, get used to kind of how the first few laps are going to feel with the car, with a bit more fuel on board, colder tires, colder brakes, and yeah, it's always good to refresh your memory that little bit before you get out racing once again.
So yeah, Jimmy, talking about racing on motorsport here, a little bit I noticed before our time. Could you they did do the F1 round here at one point. Could you imagine seeing F1 round here on on a track like this? It'd be phenomenal racing. Obviously over in Montreal now, but it was during the 60s and 70s that it was raced here. And we know what F1 was like in the 60s and 70s, especially when it came to health and safety. Could you imagine what it was like driving around here?
Oh, that would have been absolutely phenomenal. Very little downforce, massive engines, they'd be swirling all over the place, and yeah, I mean, oh, that'd have been fantastic to see. I mean, I'd quite like to see current F1 around here, although I feel like they'd be doing 40-second laps in in those
Yeah,
kind of cars.
they need about 110 laps just to make it worthwhile for someone to broadcast it. But no, it really would be something interesting to see. I kind of wish I was around when some of these like original tracks that these countries cropped up with started with professional racing on there, and this is definitely one of them, Jimmy. Definitely one of them. Canadian Tire, I know it's called, but it'll always be motorsport to me.
Yeah, and yeah, it's been around since the 60s. For some reason, in my head, I always felt like it was a more recent track than that. But no, been around for quite a long time here. And yeah, I mean, it would be awesome to see kind of
1961 it started, Jimmy. 1961, and do you know who won the
61.
very
Oh,
first
64.
race round there?
Uh,
Go on.
no, I was gonna say I was just trying to remember. I can't remember off by heart who.
Sterling Moss.
Oh, was it actually?
It was Sterling Moss from the very first major professional race there, Jimmy, in 1961. And then he had a hand in redesigning some of the corners before it became what it was in about the late 60s, 66, 67.
Oh, nice. That's quite cool.
No, it's interesting. Great track. It's full of history. It's full of history. But no, let's try and make a little bit more. We've got just under 30 seconds till these drivers will be lining up again, Jimmy, and taking on 25 minutes of this race again. But this time, remember, in reverse order. Rob Barber starting at the front of the pack. Lee Martin starting at the back this time. Really interesting to see how these pros get on. We know how quick Lee Martin was in that first race. He's got 7 other drivers in front of him. Is he going to be just as quick? Is he going to get himself back up there from last to first? We've kind of been a bit accustomed to seeing it, especially with like Jack Veazey when he races as well, Jim. We know how quick he can be, and he seems to be putting himself from last to first most weeks when he's dominating the league as he does.
Yeah, I mean, it's always like a fun spot to be in is when you start right from the back and you got to work your way up through the field. And yeah, I got the pleasure of racing in this league a fair few seasons ago, and yeah, that second race of the season of the evening was always my favourite one, just because it's just a whole different style of racing that you got to do, and it was always so fun working your way through the field and battling with other people that you wouldn't normally get to battle with, and all that
Hold on a
fun
minute,
stuff. But
Jim. Is that why you always let me qualify in front of you, just so you can beat me every time? Are you just
absolutely,
making it more fun? Oh, there we go. Well,
gets us
truth
to
to
race
that
together.
now. For about 30 seconds, and then we know what happens there, Jim. I don't see you until you've lapped me again a couple of laps later. But no, Jimmy, look, they're all lining up for Hatton track. We're missing, I think, just the one at the moment, and then we'll get those lights on and off, and we'll get going again, I think.
Yeah, is it just no Lee Martin's there? Who are we waiting
No, it's
to
just
get
Lee
up there?
Martin. Lee Martin right at the back of the pack there. We were just waiting on there, Jim. But no, he has
Okay.
joined us now. So
Yeah.
take it away.
Yep. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights, and away they go. Short gap between the lights there, keeping them on their toes. Robert Barber getting an incredible start there as that John Johnston just absolutely falls through the pack. He got a bit of a slow start, didn't quite have the same reaction time, but everyone else managed to get around him, and they are back racing 3 wide again through there. Paul Brown getting a little bit hairy around that corner there, getting a bit feisty, working his way out through the field. Him and Lee Martin already 2 overtakes done each as they start working their way through, and Andrea getting a bit looking on the inside, trying to work his way through the field. Casper Roos goes off again. They keep it out of the barrier.
Was that
And
Phil Giles he was just caught up with? They looked like they were just careering into that wall there.
yeah, once again, Phil Giles having a bit of a hit from another driver. He's had an unlucky evening so far this evening, and let's see what's
So
happened to him
has
there.
Casper just tagged the back of him there by the look of it?
So I
So it's
think,
come out.
yeah,
Oh, Phil turned into him a little bit there, Jimmy. What do you think?
I'd say that's on Casper a little bit there. He wasn't alongside at turn-in, so then obviously
Allowed
Phil
Phil to
Giles
make
wouldn't have
that
had the
move.
call that there was a car on the inside, so he would have gone for the move thinking that Casper Roos wasn't going to be there, and then Casper Roos just stuck his nose in the last second. I'd say, yeah, that's a bit of a. I think Casper Roos should get a bit of a. Not a telling off, but just you probably shouldn't be sticking your nose in at the very last second because the other
Well,
drivers can't react as well to that one.
the marshals possibly might take a note of that one. We'll confirm if anything does happen there. But no, Rob Barber just sitting still out in P1 at the moment. The pros have proper worked their way through. Andrea Maglai, Lee Martin, Paul Brown, P2, P3, and P4 out on track at the moment. Jim, they've worked their way through, but obviously there was a little bit of a craziness with Phil Giles and Casper Roos just heading, which would have helped as well. John Johnson did drop off and slow at the start. Joseph Lopez as well.
Yeah, Paul Brown
It's
taking
all
a
going
lot
on.
of
Yeah.
gravel there at the back. And yeah, Joseph Lopez keeping at the pack, but Rob Barber getting that fastest lap out at the start. But then again, he hasn't had to work his way through other cars. He's just been leading the race from the start. Andrea's going to get a nice slipstream coming off these next few corners if he can get that a little bit closer. He's within a slipstream distance, but the closer the better, I think. And we'll see how they get through here at the moment. I mean, Robert Barber is not slow by any means. He was setting some top lap times in qualifying and in practice as well. So
It'll be
they'll have
interesting
their
to see.
work cut out for him, but he's not going to want to fight it too hard because ultimately he is first place, whether Andrea Lee and Paul are in front of him or behind, because he's in a different division than those three.
It's one of those, Jim. It's one of those. I'd still want to be out there in P1 above everybody else.
Oh
But
yeah,
just to
absolutely.
confirm it for you, no, just to confirm it though for you, Jim. Incident involving Phil Giles and Casper Root is being investigated by the marshal, so we'll update everybody once we know what comes from that one. But no, still sitting at the top of the leaderboard is Rob Barber, followed by Andrea Maglai, P2, P1 in the pros, followed by Lee Martin and Paul Brown, Joseph Lopez, P2, P5 out on track. Phil Giles just behind him, and John Johnson and Casper Roos now at the back of the pack after that little incident earlier on. So it's been an interesting start to this second race, Jimmy. We're 3 laps in, just over 3 minutes in, and we've seen a lot of position changes already and a couple of off tracks already.
Yeah, Lee Martin getting the fastest lap of the session right now as he's right on the back of Andrea, and I think he's going to get the move. Well, try and make a move probably in the later part of this lap as he is so far behind. But Paul Brown is very much in the mix still with Joseph Lopez in distance to if there's a mistake he could pick up the scraps quite nicely. And yeah, Paul Brown getting very close on the back of Lee Martin there. As Andrea makes a mistake, Paul Brown makes a little mistake as well. Lee Martin leads the way, and then I think Paul Brown's going to have to dip behind Andrea and maybe push him or get a bit of slipstream as they can. But they're still well in the mix, but they are falling back a little bit. I think they're close enough that they can keep fighting. I think Paul Brown giving Andrea a little bit of a push there, getting him back in the fight with the other two. See if we can get the move done. Are they going to try and go for a move on the inside? No, they
Doesn't look
stay
like it
behind.
just yet. No, it doesn't look like it just yet, sitting behind him at the minute, but that does allow Rob Barber a little bit more of a lead out there, nearly 1.5 seconds at the moment, so he'll be quite happy with that one there, Jim. But like you said, whether he's P1 before Lee Martin, Andrea, or Paul, it doesn't matter either way. He's sitting P1 in class for the AMs at the moment. Lee Martin now taking P1 for the pros, getting above Andrea, with Paul Brown sitting in P3, P4 out on track. But those three really are scrapping, so I'm expecting to see a lot more position changes from those guys yet.
Yeah, I'm expecting there to be a bit more fighting because they look like they spread out, but then as soon as those braking zones come, they're right on each other's bumpers once again. And yeah, that is the beauty of this track. It just, like I said before, it keeps everyone kind of nicely together and lets you fight a little bit without losing too much. But yeah, Lee Martin though, he definitely feels comfortable in that sort of cleaner air, but he's still fair distance off the back of Robert Barber. Robert Barber's setting some really nice laps out here to keep P1. It'd be really nice to see if he can hold that lead for the rest of the race, which
Well,
he might do if Andre and Paul can start battling with Lee a bit further behind.
Well, he is floating between about that 1.3, 1.4, just touching on the 1.5 seconds in front of Rob Barber at the moment, Jim. So, like I said, if he can keep that kind of lead out in front of these three guys fighting behind them, then I think he'll be very happy with this race so far and the way it should turn out for him, as long as nothing happens out on track.
Yeah, I mean he's dropping a tenth here or there, but then he seems to make it up every now and again. So yeah, we'll see how Robert Barber keeps it. As Casper Roost ever fighting with someone like he was the entire last race, and now this race as well, right on the back of John Johnston. And I fear any moment now they're going to start scrapping together. But yeah,
No, there
I
we
mean,
go. No, be interesting to
drives on
see
the
what does
inside.
happen.
Sorry, yeah, I was just going to call Casper Roost there, going on the inside, but couldn't quite hold enough speed, and he's had to drop a bit behind John Johnston there, as Joseph Lopez and Phil Giles are further up the field, again, kind of in their own little no man's land, a bit further ahead of the rest of them, a bit further behind the pros. And yeah, I wonder if they can catch up to each other and get fighting later on in the race. Robert Barber, though, is now, well, Lee Martin is within a second now of Robert Barber. So I imagine they're going to, once he gets that slipstream, that's going to really pull him along and it's going to put him in the mix with those pros in the next lap or two. So we'll have to see how that goes.
No, it'd be really interesting to see what does happen here, Jimmy. We're getting a bit of a train now for these four guys out in front. That time has dropped down to under a second now between Lee Martin and Rob Barber. And there's three cars screaming up very quickly and closely behind him. So it'd be very interesting to see how long Rob Barber can hold off these pros behind him.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. Yeah, I mean, what I'm really looking forward to is seeing how he is going to cope with them when they go for that move. Is he going to let them through, or is he going to give them a fight? Because um, we've seen Robert Barber in previous is just, I mean, he enjoys these races. He does get he does like to get in the fight. As Paul Brown now sets the fastest lap of the session with a 1:29.8, and yeah, so they're definitely very quick, those pros. I
No,
mean, I think they're lapping faster than their qualifying times at the moment. I mean, the slipstream's going to help a little bit, but regardless, they're still setting some very nice times out there on the track at the moment.
yeah, I can't remember quite what it was. Was it about 1:30, 1:31 something? I can't remember the exact time of it out in qualifying, but they are lapping very, very quick at the moment. But like you said, Jimmy, at the start of the broadcast, the drag from the car in front is definitely going to help out if you can get into that slipstream. And generally, I think racing just brings you out to be a lot quicker driver when you've got other cars out there with you as well. To be honest, I might much prefer being out there with someone and rather sitting clean now. I'd absolutely love to be sat in this little gaggle of cars right here, Jimmy.
Yeah, yeah, you can't be a little gaggle, can you? I mean, it's one of the reasons why I personally just love like multi-class racing. I know it's not what's going on this evening, but having that constant cars around you just yeah it makes it so much more fun. And then yeah, and especially driving slower cars like the Toyota GR86s here compared to your Ferraris and your Lamborghinis or your prototypes or whatever. I mean, the slower cars also it's easier to get to that ceiling of like of pace, and again that keeps everyone kind of in the mix a bit more. And I think yeah, slow cars, multi-class, that's where it's at in racing for me.
No, absolutely, absolutely right, Jimmy. We are coming up to the well, I'm not going to say the midway point. We're just under that way, about 5 minutes away from that at the moment. But Jimmy, second race, you know what I'm going to ask you to start to think about. I'll give you till about 5 minutes before the end of this race. So I'll ask you about the 20-minute mark. Today, Jimmy, I would like you to give me your AM driver of the day if you want to have a little think about that one.
Absolutely, I've already been thinking a little bit about who I want to give it to. So
There you go. So if you take the AMs, I'll take the pros. Guys watching along, let us know who's impressed you today. Let us know who's your driver of the day. And let us know how you think this race is going to end up. Do you think Rob Barber is going to stick it out and maintain that P1 spot overall, not just P1 in class? Let us know how you think that's going to go. But yeah, Jimmy, about 20 minutes off. Check in with you. I want to know who your AM driver of the day is.
absolutely, and I got to say I'm really impressed now with how Robert Barber's kind of keeping that lead of the race. He's doing so well to kind of stick in front. I mean, He's not crumbling under pressure. He's just keeping consistent lines, keeping like same pace as he's been doing the entire time. He just doesn't seem phased at all with seeing those three pros so close up his bumper. So just filling his rearview mirror with car, and yeah,
Well, no,
he just
it's
seems calm and
interesting to
collected.
see though. But that's why I say, Jimmy, it'd be interesting to see how he can do that if he can maintain it till the end of the race. Obviously, a few laps ago, we was looking at it, he was about 1.2 to 1.4 seconds off of these pros in Lee Martin, Andrea, and Paul Brown sitting behind him. We're now just about 2 tenths, just under 2 tenths now. So, is he going to be able to hold on to it? And if so, for how long, Jimmy?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it doesn't affect his race as these guys if these guys are in front of him and behind it, as we mentioned already. So he can enjoy himself as much as he wants out there. The pressure is completely off of him. But then it does put more pressure on those guys behind him because they're like, well, if we've got more pace, then we want to be in front. And if Robert makes a mistake, that could cost one of them behind a position. So stressful for the guys behind, but for Robert Barber, it's just an absolute Sunday drive. He can just he can relax and do whatever he wants. So
An absolute Sunday drive. I'm not sure that's how you describe it in this kind of heat, Jimmy, with this kind of racing. Do you?
well, no, not necessarily, but for him, I mean, it's what I'm saying is like
There we
there's
go.
no stress, there's no pressure.
Well, sorry, Jimmy, just to cut you in there. Lee Martin, though, just getting side by side with Rob Barber now. It looks like he has taken the lead initially at the moment, but they are still side by side at the moment. No, there you go. Lee Martin just getting out into P1. Rob Barber dropping down to P2. Still P1 in class, but he's got Andrea right behind him and Paul right behind him as well.
Yeah, but now with Robert Barber in the slipstream of Lee Martin, that's going to make it a little bit more difficult for Andrea and Paul Brown to get the move done because his pace is now going to be increased a little bit more as Andrea goes on that inside line. He seems to be loving the inside there on that particular corner, gets the move kind of done. Robert Barber goes a little bit wide, gets on the gravel, and I think that slowed him down just enough that Andrea can get through. But then no, he's got the inside line here, but then the next few corners favour the inside line, so Andrea's going to have a better time. And yeah, he'll get a bit more pace going through here. As Paul
Well, he
Brown
slips.
looking to make a move on the inside as well. Can he get it done? Because they're going to go too wide through this dodgy section of track. And that's going to be very difficult for them there. Does he back
Yeah, he
out?
gets
No,
it
Paul
done.
Brown gets the move done, I think. Robert
Yeah,
Barber had to back out a little
gets
bit.
it done cleanly there from all three of the pros as they go around Rob Barber. So no, Rob Barber, fantastic first 12 and a half minutes there of this second race, keeping out in a P1 there, Jimmy. But no, the pros have now passed him. So just over 13 minutes into this 25-minute race, Lee Martin is now P1 out on track and P1 for the pros, followed by Andrea Maglai and Paul Brown in P2 and P3 for the pros. Rob Barber down to P4, but still P1 in class at the moment with just over 5 seconds to Phil Giles in P2, P5 out on track, with Joseph Lopez taking up that final podium position at the moment, P3, P6 on track. John Johnson in P7 and Casper Roos just behind John in P8 at the moment.
Yeah, it's been a pretty eventful, crazy start of this second race. I mean, I think the pros worked their way through the field fairly quickly, and we've got those groups separated once again. But Robert Barber showing his own there by keeping up with the pros and being in that lead pack, which is quite nice.
No, it's very interesting racing there, Jimmy. Very interesting racing. It's a race I'm definitely enjoying tonight as well. But it'd be interesting to see how it does end. We saw how Lee Martin did take off in that first race and pretty much dominated it from start to end. He seems to have got over a second now, Jimmy, just over 1.2, 1.3 now on Andrea and Paul Brown. Was he being held up just a little bit by Rob Barber? But no, he seems to be dominating it again at the moment, though. But are the two behind him going to be able to make a move?
I don't know. It's a tough one. Because I mean, at this point of the race, yeah, they're just letting Lee Martin get the win, which I don't think you really want points wise. But then, I guess in Andrea and Paul's head, they're just thinking about that P2 position because I think their pace is pretty much closer than anyone else's. As Robert Barber's really getting close up behind, I think he wants back in that mix.
No, he
And
really does. But no, with those guys fighting in front of him now, with Lee Martin taking off, it does allow Rob Barber back into that mix. And yeah, Rob Barber is still sitting P1 in class. But I'd be, like I said, Jimmy, that first race, I'd be doing absolutely everything I could to be getting myself in front of these guys in front of them.
yeah, I mean, it's a tough one. I mean, if you're Robert Barber right now, do you really want to be messing with the the pros race? But at the same time, you're also here to race, so I don't know what you'd
Well, Jimmy, I'll
what
tell you what, I'm gonna put that question to you because you've been in this position like clearly more than I have when it comes to a different class race, and I haven't dabbled in that field for myself. But like, if you have got a pro race happening in front of you and you're not in the top class, what's your thoughts? What would you be doing if now you were Rob Barber? Because if I'm quick out there, I'm not slowing down for anybody. But that's me with that kind of amateurish head on it. Like, you do this a lot more. What would be your thinking here?
It's a horrible question because I don't think there's a good answer that I can give. But
I want your answer, Jimmy. I want your answer. And guys in the chat, let us know as well. What would you do? Union Jack Veezy, let us know. What would you be doing right now if you were in Rob Barber's position? Would you be fighting with the guys in front of you? Jimmy, come on, honest answer. What would you be thinking?
well, I think selfishly, from as someone who's usually in the pro division, I would I usually say if there's an am that's kind of fighting unnecessarily, I'm I think during the race I'd be like, get away from me! I want to have a race with the rest of the pros. But but then if I'm in the am division, I'm like, well, if I'm an am keeping up with a pro, then I might as well have a race because I mean, otherwise those guys need to be quicker. So
No,
it's
that's not an honest answer, Jim. That is an honest answer, and that is exactly what I want to hear. Marshmallow, what would you be doing in that situation, Jack? Let me know as well in the comments. But no, that's a very honest observation there, Jimmy, and a very honest answer, and I appreciate that because I feel exactly the same. I want to race with those guys ahead of me as well. If you're not quick enough, simply you're not quick enough. And Rob Barber is definitely keeping up with them at the moment.
Yeah, he's keeping in the mix, keeping close behind, and I think yeah, with those two battling, doing a bit of leapfrog in there as Paul Brown now gets into that P2 position with about 8 minutes to go towards the end of the race. I mean, it can still chop and change quite easily. I mean, even by the end of the lap, then yeah, he could be back on front
Well, no,
as
look how close Andrea is close to Paul Brown at the minute. It's still only a few tenths in a second. That's a few tenths in a second. Sorry, I do apologize. A few tenths between them at the moment, less than a tenth right now. So is Andrea going to make that move down on Paul Brown? Looking to probably going to get next to him, but no, Lee Martin's still leading the way at the moment.
And I believe we're going to go on an onboard for Lee Martin for this next lap, so the guys at home can see what the guys are dealing with this weekend as we jump on board with Lee as he crosses the start-finish line. So we've got a nice little right-hander here, little blind apex as it goes downhill, lifting just a little bit, and then back on the throttle as soon as they can, using all that curb on exit into this lovely left-hander, sweeping all the way around. Blind little apex there as you come down the hill. Again, back on the throttle so early, and it's so fast going through here as you brake in a straight line and carry this huge hairpin sort of slow right-hander around here, and then back on the throttle once again, and then coming up is that lovely little tricky section of track as you brake downhill into immediately braking uphill, unsettles the car as you start rotating while braking and changing down gear at the same time. And yeah, you can't see where you're going. You just have to know the track as you got to get as close to that apex and back on the throttle immediately. Get on the acceleration, go, go, go as you go through the back straight of the track. A little bit windy, a little bit bumpy. But this is where you get all that slipstream coming out of here. You can see how long and just how wide this section of the track is. So it's so hard to defend because you can't really pick a side too much because everyone else can get alongside way too easily. It's a bit tricky. And then we've got this nice little sweeping right-hander here. So a little lift off, maybe a little dab with the brakes for rotation if you need it. Shifting down a gear as you get back on the brakes to rotate through this next through corner. And then we're on to the last corner of the race. And then, yeah, once again, little dab with the brakes to get through, up on the curve to follow, carry as much speed through, and then we're back across the start finish line. So very short lap, not many corners, and 10 corners in total, but it's a lot of fast sweeping corners. You carry a lot of speed around here, and yeah, that's what the drivers are dealing with this evening.
No, I tell you what, Jimmy, it's one of those. We were talking about it earlier about how good this track is, really, especially for racing. So I was looking up a couple of old school driver comments, and one of the things Sterling Moss did say, it's a proper fast, raw, rugged, old school track, and I think you really got that image of it right there from that on board because there's a lot to deal with out on track going on. Like I said, it's a proper racetrack, and you've got other drivers in the mix as well. Now, yeah, Paul Brown was sitting just behind Lee Martin, who were on board with by about 4.5 seconds there. So I don't think Lee had too many issues there to worry about. But it really shows you what these guys have to deal with out on track.
Yeah, and I mean, you're the sort of resident kind of karting kid that we've got. Would you? I don't know if you. In my head, I see it as very similar to a go-kart track. What do you think about it?
To be fair, I was sitting here earlier, Jimmy, and I was thinking exactly that. It does remind me a lot of like a go-kart kind of track, but it's one of those. It's really hard to say without actually racing it, and on the sim, it does come across a lot different as well. But I don't know, Jimmy. If I'm completely honest with you, it would make for a brilliant race out in the karts. I do know that. But
Yeah, if
Jimmy,
you could
so
scale it down a little bit, it'd be it'd be perfect. But I think I know what
it'd be
you're
like
going to say. We've hit that 20-minute mark.
yeah, we've hit that 20-minute mark. I'm going to get away from my karting stuff because I'm on that one at the minute. I'm not doing too strong at the moment. I don't want to talk about it, Jim. So please don't ask. I was in the comments. Just leave it. Just leave it. But no, Jimmy, we're just over that 20-minute mark. I would love to know, Jimmy, who your AM driver of the day is, please.
I think we're all going to know who I'm going to have to give it to here. It's got to be our very own Robert Barber, and he's absolutely smashed it. This, especially this second race. Bit of a dodgy first race. I mean, he had that collision. It wasn't ideal, but he's definitely, I think, pulled our respect back a little bit with this one because, yeah, I mean, keeping up with those pros, keeping in that fight, leading the race for as long as he did. That first race, bit of a blip. I mean, I don't think Phil would be too happy with that first race either. And yeah, I was between Phil or Robert for this one, and I think I got to give it to Robert just for how well he's smashed it out of the park on this second race. What about
No,
you?
he's done really. No, I was just going to say, Jimmy, before I do, I think that's a great, solid shout there. Rob's proved himself really dominant in this second half of the evening. Obviously in this 25-minute race, really unfortunate in that first part. He was doing really strong there. Possibly would have got himself maybe 2 podium finishes, obviously, if he finishes where he does now. And in that first race, if he didn't have the incident with Phil Giles, very solid shout, Jimmy. But for me, no, in the pros, my driver of the day, I am going to give it to Lee Martin, mate. Look, he has been so strong today. We saw him out in the first race, absolutely dominant. We've seen him out in his second race. I think it was before lap 2. He got himself up there. I think it was about second or third behind. No, yeah, second. I believe he was behind Rob Barber within a couple of laps. He's got himself up there now. He's got over a 5-second gap. For me, it's got to go to Lee Martin. He is my driver of the day.
Yeah, he's definitely smashed it out of the park on this one, and yeah, just a nice easy drive for him. I mean, sometimes it feels bad going with just the fastest driver on track. You're like, oh, I want to give it to the guy that's battling and causing a bit of mayhem and stuff. But sometimes you just got to give it to the guy that's just got the raw pace and yeah, someone that just works their way through the field and then just off they go. I mean, I
No,
can't blame you for that decision whatsoever.
no, look, Andrea and Paul have had a fantastic race as well, and they've given us lots to talk about. They were just side by side a moment ago, Jimmy. We're probably going to see a little bit more. Andrea just touches slightly wide, allowing Paul to get just ahead for now, but they are still side by side at the moment. Is Paul going to be able to slot out just in front? Not just at the minute, but it possibly all going into the next corner. He'll have the inside there, and Rob Barber keeping into the mix. But no, Jimmy, look, point and case right there. They've given us some phenomenal racing today, but you just can't shy away from someone who's been so dominant out on track today.
No, you can't at all. And yeah, and I think that's kind of why I got to give it to Robert on the second one. But yeah, I think it was a really tough decision which Am to give it to because they've all kind of had phenomenal races and then shown really good racecraft as the race has gone on. And yeah, especially Casper, who's battling with everyone under the sun, and then yeah, Robert having this crazy good race, and then Phil Giles. I mean, he got very unlucky after that first race, but then yeah, he's shown how good he is again on this one. But yeah, we're coming up to the last lap now as the drivers are crossing that start finish line. So last lap to go. I mean, I don't really know who's in the better position here with Paul or Andrea because you want to get that slipstream, but also at the same time it's kind of it's good to be in front, isn't it? Because then you can
It's a
pick
risk.
that inside line and then
I tell you, it's a
defend a
risky
little bit better.
part. It's a risky part of the race to go racing on the last lap, Jimmy. That's all I'm going to say. But we could see absolutely anything here now. Paul Brown's obviously going to try and make the move on Andrea. He's looking to get side by side with him. Doesn't
He has
quite
gone.
make it happen. He got it. No,
Oh,
not just at the moment. Just backed out of it just a little bit there. But no, he's still looking to get that move done. Is he going to make another position before the end of the race? But Lee Martin leading the way just over 7 seconds on the guys behind him, Andrea, Paul, and Robert, all fighting it out there for P2, P3, and P4 on track. But Rob, keep yourself clear, mate. Don't get involved in anything here now.
Yeah, Paul Brown though, side by side through these last few corners. I mean, Lee Martin just about to come across the start finish line. I don't know who to watch because, yeah, you want to give the lead driver
His moment. So
yeah.
we'll get Lee Martin as he crosses the line, but no, we'll quickly cut back to Andrea and Paul and Robert. After that, Paul now making the move on Andrea. I just seen it on the leaderboard. Well done, Lee
As
Martin,
Lee
crossed the
Martin
line
gets
in
the win.
P1.
Yeah, congratulations to Lee Martin as Paul Brown now gets the lead in the second race of the
There you go, and comes over the line,
event.
Jimmy, in P2 with Andrea in P3 there. What an interesting end to that last race. Barely tenth and a half in there between the two of them. Rob Barber crossing the line in P4, P1 overall for the AMS. Congratulations to him, followed by Joseph Lopez and Phil Giles, taking up your last two podium spots in the AMS today. Casper Roos and John Johnson just rounding it out at the back. Few corners left to go as we see Casper come round and finish his race off. He's had an interesting evening this evening. And John Johnson missed out on qualifying, maybe the affecting for these couple of races. Jimmy finished in P8 in both of our races this evening as we just watch him finish now as he comes around the last corner.
Yeah, great racing all around there. I mean, thoroughly enjoyed that one. I think, yeah, it was nice having those little groups of people constantly battling the entire way through. That's what you want to see. You don't want everyone spreading out. You want to see those people fighting. As we, Gaz, do you want to take away the end results of this second race?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, Jimmy. And finishing P1 overall and P1 for the pros, we have Lee Martin, followed by Paul Brown in P2 and Andrea Maglai in P3. That is your pro positions and out on track 1, 2, and 3 for the day. Rob Barber coming over the line in P4, very close to the guys in front of him, but taking P1 for the AMS, followed by Joseph Lopez and Phil Giles, P5, P6, but P2 and P3 in the AM class there, followed by Casper Roos and John Johnson in P8. Interesting race for only a very few drivers there, Jimmy.
Just want to say quickly, we missed it on the in the YouTube chat, but Paul's daughter going to give it to my driver of the day to my dad once again. But well done to Robert as well. Great race overall. And yeah,
There you go.
it's never a surprise when someone gives it to a family member, but at the same time, I respect anyone that says gives a little shout out to another driver as well. I mean, yeah, great racing all around. Well done, everyone, once again. So we're going to go over to the interviews now and have a little chat with some of these drivers.
Yeah, absolutely, Jimmy. Shall we get our P1 in here and P1 in the pro? Shall we get Lee Martin in here first?
Yeah, let's bring him in and have a little chat.
There you go. Good evening, Lee. Congratulations, mate. P1 in both the races this evening. P1 overall. How you doing?
Oh, good evening, gentlemen. That was a lot of fun. I will say it was a bit of a hollow victory without VZ here because I know he's got incredible pace, but I'll take the win. I don't mind that.
You got to take the wins when you can take them, mate. Jack was watching along in the YouTube chat as well with us this evening. No, but no, don't take that away from yourself, mate. You had two very solid races tonight, and we did say at the start of that second race, are you going to do a last to first? And you did, and you got yourself a real decent bit of time. I think it was just over 7 seconds at the end of that race to Paul Brown and Andrea sitting in P2 and P3. So no, you had a really solid race tonight, mate.
I will say that is a huge testament to the league. The guys here are so clean, they're so respectful. It's just an absolute blast to race these guys, and the respect shown on the track tonight, especially with these off-camber corners and managing the weight of the chassis shift as they go around, was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's a real raw, old school kind of track, isn't it? It's great for racing, though.
Indeed, yeah, this was I think experience is the only thing that's really going to help you here because, as I mentioned, that weight transfer on this track is so unusual. Those off-camber turns just want to send the car off into the grass all the time, uh, and figuring out how to manage the weight on this car because it's so bouncy was just a fantastic challenge. I love this car, and this is such a great car track combination.
No, it's really one of them. You guys did really well because there wasn't really a lot of off tracks tonight, mate. You guys held it really well and gave some really great racing. But look, we don't like to keep you guys for too long after a very warm evening and a very long race. But no, how anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to before we let you go?
You guys for sure, and to my wife for letting me chase pixels around on a screen and have a great time at it. Thank you all.
No worries, well, mate. No worries. Well, you get yourself gone, mate, and we'll catch up with you next time.
Terrific. Thanks again.
See you later, Lee.
I like that terminology, chasing pixels.
I do like
That's
that
a good
one
one
quite a
though.
lot. I'm going to remember that one. I'm going to remember that one, especially when I'm not doing any work at work. I don't mean that if my boss is listening, which I know sometimes he does. But no, always good to speak to Lee and our race winner. I tell you what, shall we get Paul Brown in here with us, P2 overall in the pros as well today?
Yeah, let's give him a little interview, see
Paul,
how he's getting on.
Paul, good evening. P2 today, mate, in that second race. P3 in the first one. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, happy with both. I was just saying to the guys, my heart is absolutely racing after that second one.
No, it was some really good racing out there, mate. You did really well at the end there to get above Andrea. Like, we did just catch it. You guys are having some real great races, both of those ones, mate. How'd you find it?
It was good fun. I've been really respectful. I'm sure that comes across in the broadcast, like giving each other space. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
No, it looks like some real good racing, mate. And no, it's always good to see when you guys do keep it clean and fair with each other, but you still have some good racing. That's exactly what we saw between the two of you.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah,
speak to Andrea in a minute and get his side of things. But no, mate, it looked like a really good race for the pair of you out there. No, so you had a really good evening, mate. But
yeah,
no, but no, it's one of them, mate. We don't like to keep you guys for too long, especially on a nice bank holiday weekend. We're sure you got stuff to do. So anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to before we do let you go?
yeah. Just quickly. So again, you guys for doing the broadcast, Connor for organising it, and my biggest fan sat behind me watching it, Katie and my daughter. So I'll give her a shout out.
Yeah, no worries. Good to always hear that. Look, Paul, we'll hopefully catch you on the next one. We'll see you next weekend. I'm sure we will.
Yes.
So you have a good one, mate, and we'll catch you then.
Yeah. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much.
See you later, mate. You have a good one.
Bye. Yeah. Bye.
Bye now. There you go. Always good to speak to Paul as well there. But no, shall we speak to some of the AMs now, Jimmy? Shall we? Shall we speak to let's speak to Joseph Lopez, shall we? So he finished P2 in the second race. He finished P1 in the AMs in the first race. Joseph, good evening. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
We are doing very, very well, Jimmy, aren't we? We had some good races this evening.
Yeah, it's been a phenomenal this evening. Like really entertaining to watch from everyone.
Joseph,
Yeah.
you had some really interesting racing in that first race with a few different drivers, especially with Casper towards the end of it, and even with a few of the pros in the first one. It seemed like a really interesting race for you. How did you find it?
Yeah, I feel like I got into it with just about everybody in that one.
No, you really did threw yourself right into the mix at all points that you could there.
Yeah, I didn't know how this track was going to go, and that first one was a good start. Got my heart racing.
No, there you go, my mate. There you go. See, it's always some interesting racing, especially when you do get to see you guys scrapping it out like the way that you do. Not many incidents out there on track. You all seem to keep it pretty fair, but pretty hard racing out there. Did you find that with everybody else as well?
Yeah, it was real good. In the second race, Phil and I were trying to bump draft to catch up to the leaders, but we didn't make much progress. I was hoping
No,
that we'd get
those
up in
guys
there.
were really quick up ahead of you guys today. I think it was a bit of an uphill challenge there trying to catch them towards the end there. They were incredibly quick out there, mate. But no, always good to speak to Joseph. So look, before we let you go, is there anyone you want to say thank you to or give a shout out to?
Just the normal people, my dog and my wife. So,
There you go, my mate. There you go.
all right, well,
So
have a good week.
there you go, mate. We'll speak to you next week, and you have a good one.
Yeah, you too.
See you later, mate. There you go, Jimmy. All good to speak to the boys, isn't it? I think that's everyone tonight, isn't it?
No, we haven't spoken to Andrea yet, have we?
Oh, Andrea, no, I do apologize. Andrea, oh, how rude of me. Right, let's bring in our P3 in the pros. Andrea, I do apologize. I very, very nearly forgot about you there. So do
Very,
apologize
very.
about that one. How are you doing this evening, sir? P3 in the second race, P3 in the first, I mean P2 in the first race. How did you find it this evening?
Yeah, hi guys. Yeah, I'm still a little bit cooling down from the race. It was really nice, but the result, I must be honest, I shouldn't be talking with you guys. It's always a pleasure, but I shouldn't be here because
Oh,
without, I mean,
really?
who is here is here. But with the few guys that were missing today, I have the impression that I would have lacked a little bit of pace to really fight for that P2 or P3
Well, Andrea, this is where it
for the
pays
race.
to But this is where it pays to turn up in these races, mate, because the guys
Mhm.
who did miss out, and I did call it, this is where the points can be made from you guys who maybe not necessarily near the top of the leaderboards also that often. So don't take anything away from yourself. So, mate, you had two very, very good races. I think it was just, especially in those, well, in both of them, I think Lee was just a bit too quick for
Absolutely.
everyone this
Yeah.
evening. But no, you gave us some really, really great racing, especially in that second race there between you and
Yeah.
Paul Brown and Rob Barber as well, unexpectedly, who we didn't expect to stick
Yeah.
with you guys in the
Yeah.
stick in the fight, but he did. And the three of you
Mhm.
made it real interesting to watch, mate. Obviously, it did let Lee get away a little bit, but no, great racing, mate. Great racing overall. So don't take anything away from yourself. But look, don't like to keep you for too long, mate. Before I let you go, anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to?
Yeah, I mean, shout out to all the drivers that showed here today. It's really, really nice to see how good we can race together. And yeah, like you said, I mean, I'm really impressed with the pace that Robert showed. Lee was like crazy, crazy fast today. And yeah, we show up. We try to race as good as possible. And tonight was a really, really nice night of racing. Yeah, thank you guys.
There you go. So you never know, Andrea. We possibly might speak to you then next week, but hopefully we'll see you out on track with us next weekend.
Yeah, I hope it's you guys. I hope it's you.
There
Thank you.
there you go, man. You have a good week and we'll speak to you later.
Yeah, you too, guys. Thank you. Bye bye.
Take care. Take care. There you go. Right now, I know that we're at the end of the interviews. Sorry, Andrea, again about that one. But Jimmy, that was some great racing here from Motorsport, from Canadian Tire, here tonight in Ontario, in Canada. But sadly, that is going to be the checkered flag from us here, and the checkered flag from us here at Broadcasting. I myself just want to say thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you for getting involved, and Jimmy, as always, thank you for having me sit next to you each and every night, even though not technically I'm sat next to you. Any final words from yourself?
Yeah, thank you guys. And yeah, we've been treated to another absolutely quality race this evening here at Canadian Tire. Next, we go over to the USA for the Barber Motorsport Park for a fun little fast track there. You don't want to miss that one. But before we sign off, I just want to thank you again to the Tango Racing Group for hosting us this evening. And thank you all at home for being here and supporting your favourite drivers out on the grid. Hope you have a great week, everyone, and we shall catch you on the next one. Good night.